All right. Okay, so I just gonna start by saying I have all these old photos that I inherited from my mother, who actually got them from her parents. Um, the family came to Oregon in 1852, actually settled west of Eugene on a donation land claim in 1853, and the land is still in the family, but it's now a tree farm. So the old place is gone, all the buildings are gone. It actually at one time was a post office and was on maps as an actual town. It
What
wasn't really a
town?
town, but it was a community out west of you. It's about 25 miles west of Eugene on Highway 126.
What
And
town was it?
it's just west of Notai, about
Okay.
2 miles or so.
Okay.
It's also called Elk Prairie or Hale Valley.
Mm.
My great great grandfather actually came to Oregon twice. He came in 1848 driving a wagon for Elijah Bristow's wife and her adult children all came. Her husband had come out and he was out here by 1846, and he and Elijah Bristow and another man were the first settlers in Lane County.
Cool.
Eugene is actually named for Eugene Skinner,
Yeah.
and this Bristow guy also came and he established Pleasant Hill. And my great great grandfather drove his wife's team. I guess I'm assuming it was oxen. We've always assumed it was. But anyway, he came. So gold was discovered in California, went to California and to the gold field and came back via Panama to New York City and went back to Illinois and married his sweetheart. That was in 1851. And then in the spring of 52, he and his new wife, and who was pregnant, she actually had a baby on the trail, came back to Oregon with her family. Most of her parents and all of her siblings, I think, all came to Oregon and settled. So I have photos from all of these people, going back probably to at least 1860 or so, right up until about 1990. Well, 1985 is when my grandfather died. And there are a few photos newer than that because they're of the old place before that house burned and the trees were planted. And so there's a great diversity of types of photos in this collection. This is what the collection looks like. How do I get rid of this? Get rid of that. There. Looks like this. All these old photos that I have. I can't figure out how to get to navigate in this thing because I want to go to the next one, the next picture. Uh,
Well, that's not a Zoom issue. That's just use your computer and it should show us.
I don't know how to do that.
Arrow keys?
Try unsharing and sharing again, perhaps.
Okay, stop sharing. Then go back and click on share.
And pick what you want to share.
That. Share. And then okay. So then I want to share it with this photo.
Double click it, see what happens.
Now it just makes it bigger. I'm sorry, I don't know how to navigate too good around this, apparently.
Well, we're seeing thumbnails of the pictures. We kind of get the idea.
So you can't see my full screen.
No, we see the
thumbnails in the file folder.
Right.
That isn't what I wanted. Okay, let's see if so stop sharing and then hold on a second. We'll figure this out. We will. That's probably more of what I want to share. Can you see the full picture now?
It's coming. It takes it a minute. There we go.
Okay. That's what I wanted. So this is what the album pages look like. You can see there's a number that's actually on the sleeve. And what I did was I have these. I don't know how I would like to step through these. Can you see the whole photo now?
Yeah.
Okay,
We see the
that's good.
photo
Okay,
in the
so this
notebook.
is the albums that I selected. These are cased album. They're 3 inches because anything smaller seemed ridiculous because you couldn't get much in them. And if you go wider than 3 inches thick, then it becomes too big. This is the biggest size that my hand can grasp. Okay. And plus, if you go like the next size is 4 inch, and it starts making the albums pretty heavy. And so those are the albums I selected. They come with labels. There's a finger hole to pull them out. And so I wound up with these 11 albums plus a archival box for storing oversized and awkward items. That I actually there's 932 items in the collection. So when I got done, here's the oversized box. How am I doing? Am I going too fast?
No, we're still stuck on the picture of the fellow in the album, 805.
Okay, well, that's interesting. I don't know what I'm supposed to do about that. You're still stuck on that. You can't see this.
There's a spinning wheel, like it's trying to do something, but it can't.
Ah, all right. Maybe I wish I'd known how to do this better then. I didn't realize that this was going to be a problem. I had assumed once you can see my screen, you can see whatever I put up.
Are you sharing your full screen or just parts of your screen?
I thought, okay, that's
You might be sharing windows. Stephanie's right.
all right. So something is wrong and I've done okay. This meeting is being recorded. Let me see here. How do I get out of this? Now I can't even get out of this. Okay,
Escape.
I'll close that. Let's see here. I can't even see the button to stop. There's the button to, okay. Yes.
There you
There
are.
you
All
are.
right, there I am. Okay. Well, darn. Okay. You can't see my screen, so let's see if there's some other way I'm supposed to do this. Options. Let's see here.
Do you have the option to do desktop?
I'm looking here. I thought Max could just get me right through this. All right. Screen, entire screen.
That's what you want.
Can you guys see?
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
Oh,
Can
yeah,
you
yeah.
see that now? Okay. All right. This is what the albums look like. I won't spend a lot of time on this. Okay. Now I'm completely out of where I needed to be. Hold on. Okay. And that's the albums, the 11 albums. I have one that's empty, but I have some stuff to go in it. The oversized box. Okay. I wish I knew how to go from one photo to another. That's the oversized box.
If you select them all at the same time and double click, they should all open.
You think so? All right.
Give it a shot.
We'll try it.
Go.
I don't
Oh,
think that's
maybe not.
working. Well, that's the oversized box. We're getting through it.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And the most important piece of equipment I have was the scanner for this project, probably. And this one I've had since about 2009, 2010. Okay. So I've been working on this project since about 2006. So I'm close to 20 years into it before I got this far. So those are pretty much the physical part of the collection. And then what I would do is I would place the items in a sleeve. I'm going to go back to stop sharing. And is there any way you can put me in the center, Max? So that I'm just, or is there a way I do that?
When you were sharing your screen, there was a picture of you down in the bottom
Ah,
left
that's
corner,
right. There's a picture of me.
which worked really well.
Right here.
We see you.
Share me. That's not me. That's not what you're seeing.
I see you and I see your scanner.
All right, hold on. Must be one of these choices here. Entire screen. You would think it would be simple. Mhm. There we go. Heck.
If you, up in the maybe right-hand corner, there's a button that says view. And if you select
View.
speaker, then only the person
There
who's
we
speaking.
go. Okay, that's you. Let's see if it'll give you guys me here.
Yep.
We've got you.
That's what you guys are seeing. You're seeing me. Okay. So here's an example of some sleeves that I use. You can buy a lot of these from Amazon, different sizes. These are 4x6. Okay. I used paper. This is black paper for the pages. Not all my albums are with the black paper. So it's just black paper. So I bought a whole box of like 500 sheets for this project. These are not archival, strictly speaking. This paper isn't, but it is acid free. I wasn't doing this like museum quality level. For one thing, it gets very expensive when you start buying archival stuff. Okay. So that's pretty much it for the physical properties. I have a small label printer. My handwriting is atrocious. So all of the labels you see, I used a little brother QL700 that I have that I bought in 2019. And it printed all of the labels, and I use it for a lot of other things too. I use it to label all the backs of my photos when I enter a competition or file folders or stuff out in my shop. I just find life is much simpler if I can just whip up a label, but it's very helpful for this project, especially like I said, my handwriting is so terrible. Okay, so that's the physical preservation part of it, because I had like 3 goals for this project, and one was to preserve the photos and protect them because they were just loose, rattling around in the world, which is terrible. It's terrible on photos. My second goal was to identify the people in the photos. And I'm really fortunate because my grandfather wrote on the back, or he had my grandmother and my mother write on the back of a lot of these photos. He probably identified 3/4 of them, which was really helpful. And then my last goal for this project, which I finally have completed, yay, was to share the photos. And my brothers, 2 of my brothers and my uncle are coming Tuesday for me to hand them a jump drive with the files on it. So anyway, how did I identify these photos? Well, I think in order to do that, you really have to record the information about each photo. And there are some ways you can do that. You could do something like this. This is a little Excel spreadsheet that I created that you could enter the information about each photo in. And there's
Kathryn,
a, can you guys see this?
we can see it reflected in your glasses, but we can't see the
Okay,
screen.
so now I have to share again, right?
I think so.
Share. Uh, and I have to share the entire screen. I'll get there yet, guys. Okay. All right. So let's see.
Okay,
There.
we're looking at the printer.
Yeah. Now can you see
Mhm.
the
Yes,
okay, now can you see the spreadsheet?
yes.
Wow.
Excellent. Now I think we've got it. All right. So this is a little Excel spreadsheet that I created just to see if it could be done because I talk to people often and my solution is a little more complicated and expensive, but you could do a spreadsheet like this. You could possibly do something like this in Google Docs, okay? You could also possibly do something like this in this is a Word document. So a word processor, you could do that. You could actually go up here and insert a picture, this device. Okay, so you could go over here and let me find something to put in there. We'll go down here. I don't know which one we're grabbing. Okay, so you could actually insert this. It shows up there. You put your information in there. You could add subject headings. Being a cataloger and having worked with in a database for many years, it's really important to control the names of people to have that actually. So having a master list, for example, in this Excel spreadsheet, there's a second page here in which I entered the actual names of people in this format, last name, first name, and their dates. Because it's not unusual in families to have people who are named the same, but they were like different generations. So you can copy this and then go back over here and then you can paste that name into your particular boxes like that. So
So that spreadsheet you created yourself?
I did.
That's very impressive.
I would be happy to share this with someone if they wanted, like with all the cells empty, so they could use it if they wanted.
I'd love
It's
it.
not as elegant as this solution I'm going to show you now.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So I'm just saying there are other ways to record the information. I think numbering your photos so that they have a unique name so that your file names don't get clunky. Can you imagine having 15 people in a photo and trying to include everybody's name in the name of the file? So here is my solution. And this is the one like I said, I worked on in Microsoft Access since about 2006 or so. In fact, before that, I think. And this is all a form I created, and it's actually based on a table. This table, I call this the table array. This is all the information about the photo. It's not great database design. I just wanted one big table. Purist database managers, they would have broke all this up into separate tables. You'd have a table to hold the title and the date and the number, and then maybe they'd have one for all the physical description information. But that was too complicated. So when you're setting up a table in design or in Access, you create the fields that's going to store the information. And here's the unique identifier number. And this is that same number that I would put on the photos when I scan them and use for the file name. Okay, so that's pretty much the underlying part. The other table, there's only one other table really in this database, and this is the one to control all of the names. And you'll see how that's used here. So here is we'll go over here. I have a blank field here. So we could put in Sue, and Fred. I can't type and talk. Jones. Okay. and with photos probably taken in 1955. About, we don't know for sure. Can't type. All right, at Riddle, Oregon, and it is a monotone print. I chose not to use black and white, so okay. I just use monotone print. Physical description. I did print size, say, and one, excuse me. Okay. And I used an item size because a lot of these photos are actually mounted on cardstock. So I would record the size of the actual photo and then the size of the card in an item size. And I won't put that all in there. And then any remarks like taken at their home on River Road. Okay. And then you can put in a photo, and this is where it gets a little tricky when you're working with Access, because Access has a 2 gigabyte limit. Okay, and when I started basically you're embedding this image in this database, it made I hit the 2 gigabyte limit, so I had to go back and create thumbnails, and these are very small. They're like 200 by 200 pixels on a side, on the longest side. Oh, here, we'll just grab that one just so you can see what it looks like. Okay, and then I have a link field, hyperlinks here, and we can go in here and add these to, I don't know, we'll pick one, it doesn't matter. Okay, so now there's a link there that you can actually open the image file. Can you guys still see that?
Yep.
Okay, all right. And now, how do I get out of this without closing everything? There we go. All right. So a subject. So this box is actually linked to my subject headings box. So I can just open this up and drop down and find whoever I was looking at. Okay. And add them to this record. And that actually links them, puts all that information into that original table over here. It actually, when you click off of this field, now that information is in that table. If I needed to add somebody else's name, I have a little form here and I can add their name here. Just quickly go through this because you can buy this program, and I did. I think a year or two ago, I actually went to Microsoft, and you can still buy this program. They're not supporting it. They're not developing it anymore. I paid about $160 for it, which for a software
Access.
package isn't bad. If somebody were really interested, I would be happy to, I can export the tables and the forms without any data in it, and I could give you my forms if somebody were really like, oh gosh, that's just what I need, but I don't know how to create all this stuff.
Actually, I would be one of those.
What?
I could use that.
You could use that. Okay.
I definitely could use that.
All right. So anyway, once I got to this point, I actually found out I struggled for years because how am I going to share this Access database with people who don't have this $160 piece of software? So I found out that I can go up here and I can export this as an XML file. Okay, I'm not going to actually go through the steps of doing it because I actually have to go through and select. I have an actual export photo of query. So you have to deal with queries in this thing. And so this is for, I think this is volume 11. I think it's the last one I did. So there is all of the photos that are in volume 11, and I exported it as an XML file by going up here and clicking on this button and going through the steps. It's not hard. And honestly, Scott, if you were interested in this, this is getting more high level than just using a form to create a database or to record information. So once I did that, I need to get over here to my, oh, the heck with it. I'll just open this. All right. So here's my XML files. And this is what an XML file looks like. If you don't know anything about XML,
It's not pretty.
It's a tagging language that a computer can read and people can read. That's the best description I can give of it. So here's the first photo in this export was 811. Here's the title. You can see it begins with the name of the field. And then the name of the field is at the end. It's enclosed in these angle brackets. There's a forward. Is that a forward slash? I think that's a forward slash that signifies that's the end of that field. So here's all of those fields that you saw in my table and all of the subject headings. So that all of those records are now in this form of an XML file. Okay.
Are the links in there as well when you link to other
No,
photos?
I could not get my links to export. The other thing I could do is when this exported, it would do a complete record for each with just the first, with the subject heading. So I had 1, 2, 3. There were 4 instances of 811 in here. And what I did was I actually went through the XML and I edited it to get all of the subject headings into just one. And that's probably my fault for not really knowing how to get that to export properly. I think if I were smarter or knew more, was more technical, I could have done that. But it was just easier in the end to quit beating my head against the wall and just edit the XML. The important thing to remember is you have to keep this as an XLM file. And if you copy and try to create a new XML file, this is Notepad in as part of Windows, and it will save it as a text file. So you have to have your XML file and edit it, and then I think you can make a new copy of the file and save it, but I don't think you can't just copy parts. You can't open up Notepad and make a new XML file is what I'm trying to say, okay? So that's how I created the XML file from Access. And like I said, this is probably beyond what most people would want to do.
How do you use the XML file?
What?
How did you use, or how do you use the
Okay,
file
well,
you created?
that's the next part.
Okay,
So once
I'm
I got
getting ahead.
that done, then I went into, I think I'm going to make this a little smaller so you can see the whole screen, because no, that's not going to work. I don't know what I'm going to do. Maybe if I do this. Oh, where'd it go? Come back. There it is. It does that. This is one of the most annoying things about Excel or InDesign. And this is an InDesign. It's an Adobe product. I actually have it because my son wanted Illustrator and some other stuff. And so we have the full Adobe suite, which includes InDesign and Acrobat Pro, which I wound up using too. So I don't know if you can see this over here.
Yeah, we see just fine.
All right. So this is a book. So what you do is you create documents and then you consolidate all those documents into a book. And then that book gives you some tools that are very helpful. including creating an index down here, which is what this looks like. So I can walk you through all of the steps, but I thought maybe it would be more helpful if you saw the end result from InDesign. Just briefly, this is what it looks like. I'll make that smaller so it'll fit. Can you guys see the structure over on the root over here and all the, so this is what comes, you import this, import XML, and it comes in this form. And there's steps you have to do and set it up properly. And it's not hard. It just took me a learning curve to figure out how to do it. So what happens is, I'm going to delete, well, I'm going to delete this, and then I'm going to go down here to, I want 32. So we have to go down here to 32. Okay. And you can take and you can drop that in there. Oh, come here. It didn't drop where it's supposed to, but that's okay. I can fix that. And that allows you to, did you see what I did? I just went over there and grabbed that and dropped it right into my document. So all of this information that I just exported from Access, have my XML file and imported, I could drop it right into this InDesign document without having to type all this stuff. And you do have, there's setup to do. You have to, format all the fields. That's what these paragraph styles down here and these character styles are for, is for formatting the text in this. Okay. And I'm amazed at how many tools there are in InDesign to do different stuff. So you want to put a photo in here. Let's see if I can take the photo. Okay. So we're going to put a photo in. So we need number 32. So you go over here and you click on place. Then you go over here to, you got to go to the right spot and get the right files. Come down here, and I have all of my files in these folders. 32. And that's the photo I want. I want the edited version. You can see I have a verso and the unedited and the edited version in these folders. And I did all of that in Lightroom and Photoshop, the editing and stuff. Okay.
I can
that
see
allows
why
you to
this took
place-
you 20
place the
years,
photo.
Kathryn.
I'm sorry, what?
I can see why this took you 20 years, Kathryn.
Yeah, it took forever for me to learn how to do this. So the other thing that's going on here is that when you create a document, you use a parent. It's what they call a parent and child. So this is the parent document. So here's the space for the text, and here's the space for the image. And then the image files, those little links that you see in here, those are actually just text boxes that I added to each page. But the rest of this, the page numbering and all of this linking here, these are links. These actually are functional. Okay. Yeah, they don't work actually in design, but you can test all the links. And they have a interactive hyperlinks. Okay, so now I've opened the hyperlinks. Okay, so I'm gonna go back over here. Okay, so I'm on this page, and these are the hyperlinks on it, and you can see it's to the index here and to the table of contents. That TOC is what, and then there's, these are linked to a, I'm not quite sure, they're different. This next and previous page navigation are functionality of it. You just set them up and then they work. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look and see how to even do it. But if you want to see if table of contents is working, yep, it's working. So then we want to go to, where were we? We're in this one. And we were at, and so you can use this pages panel to navigate. So we want to go back down here to 32 where we were. And that's just in InDesign. Okay. I'm not sure how much sense I'm making because it's complicated.
I was going to just say, how long did it take you to figure out the InDesign part?
I actually was surprised. It was not too bad. Can't get that back in the window. Wasn't too bad. I probably took me a couple of months. And I will say that InDesign is so used and so for like publications, for publishing things in the publishing world, that there's a lot of really good information. Adobe has excellent help files. A Google search will you say, oh, I want to know how to index a book on InDesign, and poof, up pops you just follow the steps. It's actually, compared to trying to figure out Photoshop, this isn't that bad. It's complicated because there's so much going on here with creating an index and with setting up your parent page, and you have navigation, and you have text, the fields, and the importing, and all that stuff. There's a lot, but it's not hard. It's not hard. Like I said, you can find lots of good instructions, YouTube videos, help files. You could do this. I don't know about doing the XML and from Access, how complicated or not you would find it. It depends on how knowledgeable you are about manipulating data and stuff. I'm not an expert and never will be. Okay, so you can navigate around. You can find what you need.
Would you have been able to create the same kind of document if you'd used Excel as opposed to Access with the link?
I think you can take Excel information. You could also take Word information and actually just copy and paste it into
Yeah.
a text box. The really great thing about this is that you can set this formatting up so that, like I said, you could just drag and
Yeah.
drop each one, and it comes in and it looks great. And you don't have to retype all of that stuff all of the time. And I don't know that you could do that as easy. You could, I think, create a text block for each one of these fields and then just copy and paste your information into each one of them. Okay.
Yeah.
But because I already had been working with the Access database, when I found out I can go from Access to XML to InDesign. So the last step in this process was to create an interactive PDF from this. And the way you do that, and there's still a bunch of stuff in here I haven't showed you. You see these green lights, green dots over here? Well, you could pre-flight your book. And I can say entire book, and what it will do is to check your fields to make sure you don't have text overflowing out of the text box and be hidden when you do the XML. And if you do, you'll get a red dot here. And so then you have to go in and fix those. And I had a number of those to fix. And once I figured out how to do it, it will actually show you which text box on which page that you need to fix so that you can go in and quickly do what you need to do. The indexing. So you want to come up here and you want to index the box, the whole book. So you click on this index tab here. And the way you would index stuff is say that this, you want to index this name. So you come up here and grab the text tool and you highlight this. And then you would click here, new. Okay. I'm not going to do that because it's already indexed. And I know that because I'm sitting here. You see this little up arrow thing just below this, the start of this this text field here. Can you see that?
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay. That tells me it's already indexed. So when I got done with the book, I just went back and highlighted all of those and clicked on that plus button and added that particular highlighted section to my index. And then you just go over here and you say, generate index, and it'll go through and actually generate the index. And I created a document just with text boxes on it, just to hold the index. And these numbers here in the interactive PDF, these are actually, let's see, I need the links box again, which I closed. So I'll go back up here and open it. That's the other hard thing, is that you have all these little boxes that you're trying to work with. So I'm in the index, and you can see I get to the right place. It's just filled with all these numbers, and all of these numbers are hyperlinks for each one of these page numbers in here. So it's all completely indexed. Okay. So now that I've got all this done, then I'm going to export this book to a PDF. So you have to select everything. Oh, go back. You have to select all of your documents. Okay. Then you go over here and you say export book to PDF. Can you guys see that?
Yes.
Okay. Please tell me if I've lost you. And then you come down here and you see it's set on print, but I want interactive. So you actually have to change this to interactive. And then you say save, and it'll take, because this is big enough with enough image files in it, that it takes about 10 or 15 minutes. So I'm not going to say save at this point. We're going to skip watching it, the hourglass turn, for a while. Okay, but that's how you do that. Okay, so now I'm going to put that down. I'm going to put that down. And oh, I still have all these images up. Let me close them so I don't get totally confused. All right. So here is my interactive PDF when I got done. And that's what it looks like.
We see a picture of people on a porch.
Well, I
Right.
see the albums on a shelf.
Okay. Oh, you still see the albums on the shelf? I don't know why.
All right, now we've got your background from Mal here.
Okay.
And I still see people on a porch.
And you see people on a porch. You
Oh,
should
now I
see,
see Mal here.
do you see a hail photo collection, and there's a picture of their
Yes,
a big thrasher and stuff?
yes.
I
I
just see
don't.
your desktop.
There we go. Now we see the Hale photo collection.
Can you see that, Max?
Yes.
Okay, how about you,
Okay.
Gordon? Just
May the
nod your head.
circle be unbroken page is what I'm saying.
Yeah, may the circle be unbroken.
Yeah,
So
I
this
think
is-
I think Stephanie's was on a delay or something, because I wasn't seeing the things she was
all
seeing.
right. And by the way, that's my grandfather right there with his horse Daisy.
No.
Okay, and this photo was taken in 1901.
Wow.
So this is the table of contents page. Okay, so you can go to the introduction, and I have an introduction here, and you can see that my links from next. I have some information about me in here because I'm the author.
This is
And then we're in
PDF.
what? Yeah, and
This
this
is
is all in
PDF.
the PDF. It's all in the PDF. So previous, we're going to go down here to about to where the actual photos start. There's about this. I started with this album. I had all these newspaper clippings on the front. I think if I had it to do over again, I wouldn't have included those, and I would have put them in a different. I'm thinking of doing a documents database for the Hale stuff. Anyway, so here we are. This is the photo. This is my great grandmother. And this photo was probably taken in 1864, 63. And so you can see that the links work. These links to these photos that open. They work. The thing about InDesign is that it will not do relative links, hyperlinks. You can export the links from InDesign. You can create them, you can export them, but they're absolute. So if I gave someone all of the files, the PDF, they would not be able to have these links work if I created it in InDesign. So because I have Adobe Acrobat Pro, I can create hyperlinks in the PDF that actually work as relative. And I've tested it. I actually have a laptop, and I copied all the files and I put them on the laptop, and they do work on the laptop. And that's what I'm giving to my brothers. Okay. But so I actually went in and I hand coded all of these hyperlinks in the PDF. And most of the pages have like 3 links to them. So I did about 2,000 or more hyperlinks. I'm a detail fiend. Let's face it. Okay. So here's the index. And I said, oh yeah, those are all linked. Okay. Here is, I went too far. Here, this is my grandfather. And that's my grandfather and a girlfriend. He really loved her. Oh, he wanted to marry her. She did not marry him.
Ah.
There's still a lot of pictures of her. And I did include a subject heading of buildings. So because, there's nobody in this picture, how do you know? And I also included ones for some the horses. Here's one, cats. There's cats in this picture. So I did that for kids. Like, they're not going to sit still to look at all these pictures of all these old people, but maybe sit on dad's lap or mom's lap and look at this and say, oh, well, here's pictures of a chicken. There's a chicken in this picture. Can you find the chicken? I just to be humorous. So anyway, this all works. All these links work. There's the table of contents. You want to go, like, you start looking through this and you get tired, you quit. Well, you could come back and go back to the next volume. Okay. But there's another really helpful tool besides just the index. So you can do this. You have an actual search feature up here. Okay, I hope if I spelled it right. Okay, so you can do a search. There are 72 pictures with my mother's name in it. And you can just kind of step through all of, and by the way, this is because the information on this photo overflowed 2 pages. And I set this up so that it's a section. So this is 182A and this is 182B, so that the page number matches the photo number throughout the document, which I really wanted because when you get down to the index and it's referring to the page numbers, you want it to refer to that photo number as well, because somebody might be saying, well, I want all these pictures of, I don't know, this person. I want to go and actually print those out, or I'm looking for them in the file. because here's the photos. They're actually in this folder called photos, and they're in subfolders like this. And so I thought it was important to keep the index number the same as the photo number. So in order to do that, I had to add section numbers for these photos. I hope that makes sense. But yeah, you can go from here, but you can also step through using the search feature to find all the pictures of a particular individual without having to go, well, here you're in the index and you go, well, let's look at this one of Uncle Ray. And then you have to go back to the index and find Uncle Ray and click on the next number. It's a little clunky that way. But by using this search feature up here, you can just step through all the photos of my mother, for example. That's my mom and my uncle. He's 4 years older than I am, is all. That's my mom's baby picture.
Oh.
Okay, so that's pretty much the whole long process. I hope I haven't totally bored you.
That's
I can go
amazing.
into more detail if there's something you're curious about.
I said,
I'm just
have you
amazed at the
tried,
amount of work you put in.
What's that?
I said, have you tried using like the Topaz generative AI programs on some of these very old pictures to see what it does as far as trying to make it look more realistic, I guess you would say.
Yes. So here's a photo from the collection. Can you see that? Can
Sort
you all
of.
see it? Yeah.
Oh, not now, it's black. There we go. Yes.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So that's after I adjusted the exposure in Lightroom. Okay. And that's after I did all the work I did in Photoshop to clean it up. There is multiple hours of work in this one because I use the clone tool and the remove tool and the replace. There's like 3 tools that I use almost exclusively to go in and clone out all of this damage. And this tintype is from probably 1870. And to answer your question, I'm not positive, but I think I may have run this through Topaz AI to you can enhance faces with it and remove noise and stuff. I try to be pretty careful with some of that stuff because it overdoes it. And I really wanted this to look as realistic as possible. But that's an example of the kinds of editing that I did on the old photos. And I did a lot on a lot of photos. I didn't fix everyone, and I didn't fix them to the point where they look like they came out of a bandbox. Does that answer your question, Gordon?
Well,
Yes, I
yeah,
used it.
I just wondered whether I haven't got Topaz AI, but I've just seen their ads and it looks like they take 1860 pictures and make them look like they came out of the digital camera.
I don't find them as quite as successful at that, but I find them helpful. It's just another tool.
I have a ton of these kind of pictures
Yeah, yeah. It
that
takes
I
a
could do things with, but
yeah.
I don't think I have the energy to make a book like you did.
Yeah.
I think if you did something smaller where you took the most important photos, I was faced with the problem that my grandfather had kept all these photos. I have photos that were broken in half. I have half of a photo in some cases. He never threw anything away. And I decided, in respect for him and for his love of these old photos, because he obviously cared about them a lot, I kept them all, even the most like unworthy little blurry photo. I kept them and I cataloged them and did all this stuff to them.
That's a
If
good,
it had been my photos or my judgment, I probably would have gone through and said, no, that's not, that's not helpful. Okay.
good
I
point to
was going to talk a little bit about I mentioned that my other goal with this was to identify these people's photos.
Well,
Who
before you
are
go
they?
there,
Okay.
let's talk a thing about the photos themselves.
What
When
do you
you
want?
use Topaz, did you enhance image and try and change the resolutions?
I pretty much scanned everything at 300 DPI except the really small ones. Um, wait, I'm going to go to the next one. I'm going to go here. So these photos are very small. This is 3/4 of an inch by 1 inch. And I scanned these at 1200 to get it to look like that on my screen. I don't know how they look to you, but this is very small photos. So I would up the resolution or the DPI to bring more resolution in.
Did
And
you
even
fi-
still, this is pixelated pretty good.
did you find that Topaz was helpful for increasing resolution?
I did not use that to increase resolution. If I needed more, I usually just use my scanner and increase the resolution. And go ahead.
When I ran mine, I tried to scan so that I'd get all the detail, usually 600. And then I found that enhancing in photo AI, if you run a larger resolution or even run the same resolution and run it through their enhanced image, it does help clean things up.
Okay.
I agree with your experience about the facial restoration. It can really make a difference, but you have to make sure it's the difference that you want.
Right.
I also note that you've kept all of these in color. Even the monochromes seem to
Yes.
have the original tints. Uh, Sometimes I found that by going to black and white and then emphasizing different colors in the black and white makeup, in the black and white tool, you can select which colors are going to be the brightest. That helped clean up some of the images too, because
Yeah.
some of the damage would tend to be a different color than the emulsion. And if the underlying paper had yellowed, well, that yellow is going to be on a separate slider when you're converting to black and white.
Right.
I will say that I did convert some things to black and white and recolorize them so that they were closely resemble the original photo. My goal was to present these as quote, I don't know, as original as I could.
Mhm.
What does the photo actually look like? And so that yellowing kind of indicates the age of the photo. And so I chose to scan everything in color and to retain that color information in the final image.
I think
But
that's a good choice.
I did play with that, adjusting the color and exposure to try to come up with a balance that looked realistic. If you
When I,
compare them to the original photo, you could see that I did do some of that adjustment.
I took a different approach,
Yeah.
probably equally valid. And
Yes,
that
I
was
think
to
so.
assume that my pictures were intended to be monochrome.
Mhm.
And so I didn't feel I was being unfaithful by trying to produce a clearer monochrome in black and white. But I can sure see the argument to go either way.
Right. Uh, so yeah, I think it comes down to a choice and how much time you want to put into this. If your main goal is just to scan them so that you can share them with other people, you could do that and maybe just put in a information about, Lightroom will embed, uh, I'm not quite sure. that how accurate, but you can record keywords and that kind of stuff in Lightroom. And I tried doing that, but I just couldn't see my way clear. Well, when this comes out, how are people actually going to look at that information who aren't using Lightroom? And so this is the solution I finally found. And I'm actually pretty happy with the result. I really think I accomplished a major life goal here when I finished this project here.
Well, your work is beautiful. There's no doubt about that.
Are you putting it online?
I could. It is possible, and I may do that, but you have to remember that it'll only stay online as long as I'm alive to pay for it.
I'm not
And I felt
necessarily-
like, that's pretty limiting, really.
There are places you can put it where it'll stay online forever.
There are. And a lot of these photos I will post on Ancestry or have posted on Ancestry. So when I was in my Access database, I don't know if you noticed the check boxes that I have, and one of them is for Ancestry. Because when I'm in there working, well, have I posted this to Ancestry? I can see in a glance that I have or I haven't. And that's really just, those boxes are just there to aid me with trying to manage all these photos.
I
But
wonder if
my-
there's a historical society in Lane County that would value this.
Well, I'm hoping that someone will. My problem is now that I'm finished this project, what do I do with these old photos? And that's something my brothers and my uncle and I are going to talk about on Tuesday. It's like, what do we do now? I pretty much have done what I was going to do with them. And I probably don't need them sitting in my house anymore. And I'm happy to do that. I could keep them for the rest of my life. But what happens to them after that? And I think we all have that problem.
Yep.
Yeah, I think we all do. If you have old photos, what do you do with them?
Well,
Young
you
people,
find the youngest relative that's interested in genealogy, and you send them to them.
but there aren't that many of them. It's
If
my
there aren't,
brother.
then I don't know what to do.
Yeah, and it's my brother's talk. I talked to my brother, my older brother, and he said his son doesn't have any room. He doesn't have room for anything because they live in this small house. They got 2 kids, and his daughter, she has a room, but she could care less. It's like, what happens now?
That's
So
Well,
gotta
and
be
once-
you have to do it to someone who's interested, because if you just give it to any random relative, it's probably gonna be lost.
So I think there might be some relatives that are interested, but I don't think they'll be in my mother's family, I suspect.
If you
We
put
may
them
have to.
online, you might have someone identify this person too, because there
Yes,
could be
you're absolutely
somebody
right.
could say, "Oh yeah, I know who that is. That's my
Well-
great grandfather."
I'm planning, so I don't know if you can see this. Maybe if you could I could stop sharing my screen. I have to figure out how to do that, okay?
It's down at the bottom, the share button. Click it and you should unshare. There you
There.
go.
Okay, so you speaker, we're still speaking. Okay, so you guys should be able to see this. This is a jump drive,
Right.
and I have copied those files to it, and I actually put tags on them so that it's labeled, because to me, what'll happen is I'll give this to somebody and maybe they'll put them on their laptop and they'll look at them and then they'll throw this in a drawer, and then they need a jump drive or something and they copy it. So at least maybe with it labeled, they'll say, oh, wait, I don't want to copy over those. So anyway, that's what I'm going to give my brothers. I bought a package of 10 of these, and I haven't copied all of them. I've got about 4 done where I put all the files on them. It takes about 15-20 minutes to copy all those files
Yep.
to the jump drive. So anyway, that, I don't know what else you want to look at. I mean, I could show you more in InDesign, but like I said, there are a lot of help tools out there, probably more than there are for Access. There are other databases that you can get. You can get MySQL, and I think it's free, but I don't think it is. I haven't used it. I really can't say. It might be easier to use than Access or not. And I don't know about trying to export things in XML.
I use LibreOffice.
You what?
I use LibreOffice.
Yeah. Does it have a database in it?
Oh, yeah, it does. It basically emulates Microsoft Office.
Okay.
So it has a Word and an Excel and database and publisher type counterpart. And it's free.
So Catherine, you didn't scan the back of them.
I did. I scanned the back of all the photos.
Oh, okay.
So,
Then never
and
mind.
that's really important, especially since my grandfather wrote on the back of these photos.
But that's not included. Oh, no, it is. Never mind. You have the hyperlink to it.
I have them hyperlinked.
Right,
And yeah,
okay.
they're in that file folder. I'd have to go back and share my screen again to show you.
No, no, I
But
was just,
there now when I got done, I don't know if I showed this in my database, but I actually have subject headings of identification uncertain, and I have one for unidentified, and I have one for unidentified babies because there are quite a few baby pictures and they're unidentified, and when you're trying to compare to look at photos and see who somebody might be, if you know you're looking at a baby picture and you're looking for somebody, it just was helpful. So trying to identify those photos, of course, the obvious tools are other photos in the collection were very helpful. Like I'd have one photo that my grandfather identified, but this other one he hadn't, probably because he didn't know. And then I could compare, oh, I'd say, oh, that's the same person. You really get to, so then there are photos posted on Ancestry. So I would go and look there. I have a number of photos that were identified because somebody else posted the same photo, but they had identified it. The same photo I had, but
cool.
yeah. And I also have another collection of photos that I did before I actually got mine done. I kind of put mine on hold for about a year because I had this relative, he lived down at Lakeview, and he was my grandfather's, his grandmothers and my grandfather were first cousins. So too complicated. But anyway, I had stopped to visit him on one of my photography safaris, and he had a box, a plastic tub full of these old photos, just loose. And I'm picking them out, and I said, "Oh my gosh, this is a picture of my grandparents and my grandmother's holding my mother. She's a baby." Okay. And oh yeah, I know who this is. This is so and so. And I got ready to leave, and he had never met me in his life, and I was there about 2 hours. He very courageously gave me the box and let me bring it home. And I went through and I scanned everything. I cataloged everything, and I put them all in albums, and I actually labeled his album with the names of the people in it, which you could do. I mean, you don't just have to stick with a number in the albums. You could actually go ahead and label those photos, and that my label printer will do that. And I may ask my brothers if they want me to do that. But at this point, I've worked so hard on this project, I need a break.
I would think
I'm
so.
taking the summer off. But anyway, so I had done all of his, and so I had his collection of photos, and he had photos that I had that are in the Hale collection, and he had photos that I didn't have of the same people, and so I could compare that. So those are three sources, and never underestimate the internet, because the internet, you can actually find obituaries online. Find a Grave has photos. There are a lot of resources for, and then there's Family Search, which is the LDS database, and you can actually use their database for free, their genealogy for free. So never underestimate those resources for trying to find other photos of people that you may have pictures of that you just don't know. My biggest problem, my grandfather had pictures of that were given to him by the mailman. He had pictures of neighbors, and he has pictures of, it's just this mashup of all these photos, because I think my grandfather loved pictures.
Mhm.
But and like I said, he never threw anything away. So anyway,
I
that's pretty
found
much
I
My
found
advice.
Family Search to be really helpful.
Yeah.
Because I'm cheap and I
That's all
didn't
Not
right.
want to
me.
pay for Ancestry. But I did find that there's an Ancestry terminal at the city library.
Yeah.
So sometimes when I was stuck, I could go down there and run somebody.
Mhm.
It's kind of spotty. Sometimes there'll be things on Ancestry that aren't on Family Search, and sometimes it's the other way around.
Yes. Yes.
So they're both good, helpful tools.
Yeah. So
Sometimes
you,
you'll get a hit one place, and sometimes you'll get a hit somewhere else.
I find that to be true for me too. I don't use Family Search that much, and I probably should, but I just haven't. And I also have the newspapers.com subscription, and you can, when you do an ancestry, you could find out a lot of stuff about your ancestors that you didn't know. Like, oh, my grandfather was in the hospital because he had pneumonia, that kind of stuff.
The
Because it'll be a little
universe,
notice. They used to publish all that stuff in the newspaper.
the University of Oregon has a
Yes.
database with a lot of Oregon scan newspapers. And
Yes.
yeah, I found one about when my grandfather's horse was sick and he spent the night with him in the livery stable. There's all kinds of things.
Yes. I have found a number of items in there. The University of Oregon collection, that newspaper collection they have the older stuff from Eugene that newspaper.com does not necessarily have. And they also have newspapers from, I think, from Douglas County, Roseburg area, which is where I grew up and where my parents lived in the 1950s and 60s. And so there are clippings about my parents in there. So found a lot of stuff. There are pictures of my mom, and she belonged to a little sorority for young women, and there are pictures of her and her formals and stuff she used to go to. Anyway, does anybody have any other questions? I mean, I
Well-
could go in and show you more about how to do stuff in InDesign if you wanted, but I think you saw an overview enough of it to know whether or not it's something you're interested in. And Access, I don't know. If somebody wanted to use Access, I would do my best to be of help, but I remember I struggle with stuff, and I could never be a tech support or anything for anybody.
If I start the undertaking, I might connect with you, but
No, that's fine. I'd be glad to give you any help I can, but
Okay.
I'm just saying, may not know the answer.
you're far and away ahead of where I would even start. So
Thanks for showing us all this.
Yeah,
yeah, it's
definitely.
amazing. You did a
Okay.
fabulous job.
Yeah, I was figuring out I could do that interactive PDF that was like, that's what I need. Because everybody has PDF reader on their
Mhm.
on a computer. I mean, that's pretty a standard utility, I think. And if you don't have that, you can use a web browser. Google will open a PDF. You can look at it in there.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think you have as good a search tool as that Acrobat search feature has, which I really liked. I thought that was a great way for people to go through and, oh, I just want to see pictures of my grandmother, Okay, you can do that easily and you don't have to look at everything. So anyway. All right. Well, are we
Awesome.
done?
We're
Bye.
done. Thanks so much.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
You've done amazing.
All right.